I'm Calvin, a FileMaker developer here at RCC, and we've recently put together this new audit log that uses some new lean design techniques that were developed by Nick Hunter. I took those techniques and we put together this new audit log demo that focuses on just demonstrating how to create an audit log and demo how that works. So first, I would just want to review in this file what kind of actions we're tracking. We're tracking edits, we're tracking views, we're tracking searches. It's more than just changing records. And we're second, we'll look at how those things work, what features in FileMaker we are implementing to get that done. And then then we'll have question and answers if anyone has questions. And if we want to do a demo, we can show how to implement this in a sample file like FileMaker's contacts file. So first off, I'm looking at the contacts table, this contacts master detail layout, and I'm given no records. The idea is that we want people to only see the records they're searching for. They're not browsing like you might find in an EMR. So let's go ahead and do a search. I'm going to search for John, and maybe this is the record I want to look at. And let's change some phone numbers. I'm going to make a change here. And that changed. I'll change his email address to gmail.com. And there, so we viewed, we did a search, we did a view. Now let's go ahead and look at what the audit log says here. So we tracked that I did a search for John and got 16 results. We tracked that I viewed this record. We tracked that I changed the phone number here and changed the email here. We can also track other searches here. I'm going to go into the list view and do a find, and maybe we want to find everyone with a Gmail. Nobody has Gmail in here. Oh, I'm sorry. We'd have to look in the email, wouldn't we? So we got one Gmail, and that was the one we just set up. So we had one result here from that find. And as we're interacting with this data, all of those actions are being tracked in the audit log table. That I just showed a card style window over here of what that looks like. Let's see over here in staff. This is really the user table. So we're tracking the FileMaker name is admin, and because I logged in with the admin account, we can see what I'm doing. So here's all the 46 logs that were created by this user, and we can see they logged in today at 10:25, and these are the actions that they went through, that this person went through, and then logged out here. So we got this real nice view for seeing what a person's doing instead of having to hunt through logs and such. And it's written, and we're writing it out real nicely, so we see Johnny Appleseed logged in at this date and time using this version of FileMaker. Let's scroll down here. Logged in at this date and time using FileMaker Pro Advanced 18. Did a search for John, viewed these records, and these are the things that we just saw happening a second ago. If I can also view the log and see everything all at once, and that's in this table view. And we can see, I guess this is actually a list view in FileMaker, and we can see what was done during different sessions, and that's our highlighted, these highlighted lines here. If I select any given line, it will highlight which activities happened at the same time. And so we're collecting all this data, and this is the result of all of those of all of these implementation of the audit log. Now, how are we doing this? Let's go back over to contacts. And we're doing this using a combination of a on layout enter trigger, on object enter trigger on these fields, on object save trigger when we make a change. We're using the create records via this relationship in the relationship graph. And finally, we're using the other important thing that really is what's driving this is we're using a let function to set global variables that set those fields in the audit log. So to start off, let's look at how these scripts. Let's open the script debugger here. And if you want to do this in your copy of FileMaker Pro Advanced, you just need to enable the advanced tools. And I'm going to enter into this field. And we'll see that there is a, we see that we've called this script, and the script parameter here is enter. And if script parameter is enter, then we're saying exit script. So that didn't seem like we really accomplished that much. But this is where we need to look at what the triggers are doing. I'm going to go into layout mode and select the triggers. If I right click on the triggers, then we'll see that on object enter, using this trigger here, we're using a let statement to set the global variable audit log from and get, which calls the get active layout contents, and gets the original value of the field. Enter just tells us to exit that script so that we know that we accomplished what we needed to with that in a script trigger.
All right, Calvin, let's pause just for a second.
Yeah.
Take a breath. So what I want to do real quick is welcome. We are covering audit trails. IMOG, or I think it was IMOG, one of the folks that is very chatty with us on Twitch, asked a question about, hey, let's do audit trails. And so Calvin here had just done updated audit trails for our video training, and we have a great sample file. So we're going to give you the sample file at the end of this webinar. If you have questions, then you feel free to ask them. Now, Calvin, in terms of what you were covering, I'm going to go ahead and jump back over here to Slack. And where were you? Were you demonstrating how to do this, or where were you at in this conversation at this point?
So just to recap over what we talked about, what this feature is doing, it's tracking finds, it's tracking this quick find searches in this global field, it's tracking views. In some EMRs, we want to track every time somebody views a record. We're tracking edits, we're tracking login and log out. So I'll just do a search for John. And we'll see over here that let's find one with less records. We'll see that just now I did a search for John and there was 16 results. And then I viewed this record, Johnny Reeves. So we're tracking those changes. If I change his name from Johnny to John, and we'll just remove the H from Reeves, look at that audit log. We're tracking that first name was changed from Johnny to John, Reeves to Reeves. I'm not going to close the file, but login and logouts are there as well. We're able to view those in a card style window here for one record, and I can do a search to see. I want to see all the name changes. There's the name. We can view those we can view those changes on a session basis based on the user. I'm looking here. And I see Johnny Appleseed, who has the FileMaker account name admin, logged in at this time. And these are the actions they did. He searched, he viewed, he edited, and such.
Okay, so question. So I'm going to interrupt with a question. So importantly, when you're doing audit trails, and this came up with a criminal case down at Senior Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, Cedar Sinai Medical Center. And what happened was that's down in Los Angeles. They've got a lot of people down there who are basically Hollywood type people. And of course, if you're ever in a grocery store and you see all the gossip rags and stuff, and so-and-so got a facelift, and so-and-so is near death, and so-and-so, and I'm not talking about coronavirus, I'm talking about just like normal, this person is drinking, and Angelina Jolie or whatever is divorcing Brad Pitt but loves her dog, and all this stuff that's like, ugh. Anyway, but that's a big business. And so they were bribing the nurses at the hospital to dig into medical records. And they caught them because they were using an audit trail system like this. I don't necessarily think it was in FileMaker, but the important part is it's not just what you're editing. We need to track what the person does, what layouts they go to, what searches they do, what data are they looking for, what data are they viewing, and then also logging the obvious things like, oh, I'm changing this data. So the goal with this system is if you do a found set or a find, like say for example you're trying to be sneaky, like Tom Cruise is shooting a new Top Gun movie, which actually I'm a pilot, so that's pretty cool, and I want to know what's going on. So, but Tom Cruise at the hospital. So what if the Top Gun movie doesn't get made? So I'm gonna give $20,000 to a nurse. Nurse is gonna go down there, and they want to be she or he wants to be clever about what they're doing. So they say they search for T and C, and not necessarily Tom Cruise. Well, then it really wouldn't show up on the radar, but we would be able to track that in the find request, right, Calvin? So that's the whole point of what we're doing. We could track the fact that they did a search for T and C, and these are the records they looked at specifically, which is really valuable.
Right. The way that we're able to track what they did a search on is based on this global field. So if you do a search in the global field, and for TC, it'll bring up all those results based on the quick find, and we'll have that in the audit log. So I just did a search for TC, and you'll see over here, Johnny Appleseed searched for TC from the context table with 85 results. And I can actually, for the future, we have a list of all of those IDs right here, all 85 IDs, and when I select View, it's going to navigate to those 85 records. So I can see exactly what somebody was viewing when they did that search, whether that search matches currently or not. It's based on the IDs when I select View, not on the old search.
Right. And the idea is that, of course, you would go through there looking for what they were probably actually digging for, right? In this case, my Tom Cruise example. But yeah, you get the idea. So that's the whole point of this. This is legally mandated in a lot of different businesses. Certainly medical businesses are in the United States as HIPAA regulation, but anywhere where you're doing financial stuff or medical related data, any protected data, it gets to a point where this has to be kind of an expected sort of thing. So anyway, and I'm not trying to interrupt. And once again, reminder, the folks on Twitch, we've got people here, but they're all being awful stealthy and quiet, which is cool. But if you have questions, let us know. So Calvin, finish up your actual demo, and then we want to get under the hood.
Okay, so that was a demo of the tracking views, searches, edits, and so now we're ready to actually start looking under the hood. And how does this work? And we're using really three things in combination. We're using the on-object enter and on-object save triggers on the fields. We're using the create record via this relationship feature in the relationship graph. And we're using, and this is really the important part, we're using a let statement to define global variables that are used to set those audit log fields. So let's start off with the triggers. And one of the cool things about all of those records are created using the same modular script. So it's one script, no matter what table we would be in, what kind of action we're tracking, it's the same script we're using to create those records. So let's take a look. First off, we're going to look at the field and see what these script triggers are doing. We're using an on-object enter and on-object save triggers. And the important part is the script parameter. You'll see here when we look at the script parameter is that with the let statement is setting a global variable and then passing the value of enter.
Okay, hold. Go back.
Yep.
Go back. Because no one's asked the question here, but I can see them. I don't know if we can zoom in on this a little bit or not. Do you know what the keyboard shortcut is to zoom in on a Mac? It's like Command Option Plus or something. No, wrong button. Yeah, I care. Oh, there you go. Go do some more. Do more of the. Well, no. There you go. Go. That looks awesome. Now, what keyboards are you using for that? Shortcuts for that? Are you Calvin using?
That's Command Option Plus.
Command, Option, and plus. I have to make sure that's turned on my Mac. So at the top, what is that top line right there, and why does it matter? And do me a favor and put a return after it, just so people don't lose their minds because they think it's part of the same thing. So explain that, because I know we have some beginning people here, and they're like, dude, you explained like one little thing and you're going 5,000 miles an hour and you're just too fast. So slow down. Explain this.
Okay. So the first line, you'll notice there's 2 forward slashes. So it's disabled. And so that's just saying this script parameter is for the onObject enter trigger.
It's a comment. That's a comment.
Yeah, it's a comment.
All right. So let's try that. So why don't we try that again? If we were shooting videos, we were live, but if we were shooting videos, I'd say cut. Bad description, right? He says it's disabled, but
yeah,
for normal humans, we're talking about the idea of commenting your code and saying what the code does. And so he did an inline comment in a calculation. I don't do it too much because I kind of forget to do it. It's a really good thing to do. So I'm going to go back over here to Slack one more time. I jumped off the screen. I'm going to come back to you, Calvin. So that is a comment at the top.
Right. So we have a comment. It doesn't actually do anything to the. It's there to explain what's going on.
So the code starts. So the actual functional code that gets executed starts right there where you're at with the let.
It starts with the let, yes. And so this first line, so we have let, and then the first part of a let statement is that you can define variables, and here we're defining a global variable, audit log from. And it says get active field contents. So that function there, get active field contents, is getting whatever value currently exists in the field. And it's passing this value, enter, to the script. So let's go ahead and zoom out. And we will run the script and see what happens. I'm going to cancel. Open my script debugger. If you have... to use the script debugger, you'll need to make sure you have your advanced tools on. I'm entering into the first field, and we'll see that our script was called. And because our script parameter is enter, we immediately exit. But the important thing was that let statement saved that global variable, and we'll see it here, audit log from Tyree, right, is saved right there. So let's go ahead and change Tyree. We'll put another E in Tyree and tab forward. And we'll see there's no script parameter passed to it, but there was still a script parameter in in that script trigger that set more global variables. So we'll see we set a field by name, and then we exit the script. Let's see what those, and we entered a new field, so we'll see there. Let's see what that second script parameter was. I'll open the script triggers, and we looked at onObject enter. Let's look at onObject save. So here again we have a comment, and following the comment we have our let statement. And here we're setting a lot of variables. We have first the new audit log 2. This is the new value in the field. We have audit log field. This is the field that we're changing. Audit log table. This is just for tracking what table we're changing. The parent table name. So that's whatever the name of the layout that we're working in. Audit log ID. And this is the UUID in that related table where that create record via this relationship is enabled. Then we're saving our timestamp. In some cases, this script is called during a script, so we get that script name. And here is our action. The action's in edit. Some other actions we're tracking in other places, and you'll see this is also a comment. So I just have all of those different actions available to me if I want to switch the parameter to a different action. And then we have this description, and that's the description that we were reading in those audit logs earlier. And when we get all these variables and put them together, it will read the current user changed whatever field we're looking at from old value to new value. And then we're saving the contact ID with this global contact ID. Okay, let's say cancel. Cancel again. And I'm going to open the script debugger again. And let's open the script debugger and watch it as it saves. So that was the enter trigger. And let me just change this name. And we'll do the exit trigger. Now, the script trigger was not entered, so we skipped over this. We set error capture on. And now let's go over to our data viewer to see what these values are. We're saying set field by name, parent table name. What's the parent table name? It's TO5 contacts. And then we're saying set this field G underscore UUID. So it's important that that each table that this is implemented in has that global UUID field there to set, because we're setting the field by name. And then the second field we're setting is the audit log ID. So that's that related table right here, audit log ID. So we're setting it with this get UUID that we're generating. And then at the end, the exit script result just is another let statement that clears those global variables in case we don't want them. So really the only action we're doing is setting a field in the current table, one field in the audit log table, and it's creating that record. And the way that those values are all filled in the audit log, let's go ahead and look at those audit log fields. On the each of these log underscore fields is an auto enter calculation, and the value is just that global variable account $$ account name. Here's our action. Same thing, global variable for action. And let's go to those fields where we're changing them. It's just the global variable audit log field.
Okay, so I want to interrupt real quick. So just as a performance tip for everyone, this is a general performance tip. Using an auto enter calculation like this is one of the higher performance things you can do in the FileMaker platform. So Calvin, can you zoom in? Well, if you were there, but when you're doing this, remember people have a harder time seeing this sometimes. So you want to zoom in on this, but I would go ahead and zoom in on that. But this auto enter calculated value right here, it only really evaluates it for the most part when a record is created. Then you have to be able to go in and out, right? So, but the idea is that it, so go ahead and back out, Calvin. It's not so much what the calculation is. That's not my point. The point is that we're using this tool in general. The audit, the auto enter calculation is a high performance function. If you can do an auto enter calculation as opposed to a calculation field in general, you're much better off in terms of overall performance. So in this case, it would run once, and then it would not ever run again because that second checkbox is indicated there, right? So it runs once when the record's created, which is kind of the point, and then it never runs a calculation ever again, which is great. Because what kills FileMaker performance is when FileMaker is in the background running extra calcs and things like that that you don't want. Very, very performance oriented thing. So go ahead, you can continue.
Another on that performance idea, the other thing that this is really, it makes this really fast is in past audit logs, we were opening a new window, navigating to the audit log table, creating a new record, then saying set field, set field, set field, and having an auto enter calculation that doesn't need to be, you don't need to navigate to another layout. You just say set field, and all of those, and the records created and all those fields are automatically populated. It's a lot faster than using the set field command for each field. So we saw how we're using the same script with those let statements in the script parameter to track the changes in a given record, and that's the same script we're using to track views and new records. So if I select another record, so I just selected this Johnny Chipley, and it opened up the trigger assigned to this layout, the on record load trigger, and it goes through a couple of checks, and then here we are we're calling that same on object enter exit audit log trigger. And the only difference here, if we look at this, the only difference is the script parameter. So if we look at the script parameter, we'll see we're tracking a view instead of an edit. We're saying user viewed this record, and it has the record ID and the contact's full name as well. And so all of those changes are being controlled by the script parameter. And if that sounds like, well, that's going to be a lot of script parameters to set. If I look at this field, there's probably just 20 fields. And if you've got a bigger app, then you're going to have a lot more fields. But the neat thing about this, because we're using the get active field contents, get active field functions, the same script parameter can be applied to all of the objects on the layout. And in the instances of the view, that's where it becomes a little more customized to each scenario. If I select, I'm going to select new record. And here it's going to, it knows that we have the first name and last name set as required fields. So if those are empty, it knows that that's a new record. And it's calling the same on record load trigger to create that record. And here you'll see it's just the same script to create the new record. Now it's giving me an error that I need a first name. So let's go ahead and put a name in here. We'll say, be real creative, first, last. So now when I look at here, we can see Johnny Appleseed created this record in the ID, and the first name was changed from empty to first, empty to last. And you'll see how fast that was. There was no delay, there was no pause while some script was working in the background. It's really, really fast. So we're using that same script in each of these instances to generate those records. If we want to look in the, let's go ahead and look at the relationship graph, how this is set up. We have this global UUID field in the parent table, and it's matched with the primary key of the audit log table. And by setting that field in the audit log table, we are creating that related record, because we have allow creation of record in this table via this relationship. And this is, and because we're using that UUID, there's not going to be a related record till we create it using that set field command. I'm going to cancel out of here. Say OK. And that's pretty much all of the tools that we're using to get that to work. If there are any questions, we can take those now. And if we want, we can I can show you how easy it is to add this, to edit in a sample file. Another thing we can look at briefly is that we're using custom menus. So when I select
custom menus suck. I hate custom menus. I mean, well, I think when they work, they're great, but the problem is that no one okay, so it was a funny history, because I've been doing this for 30 years, and so when it comes to custom menus, like if you go up there top, you'll see, well, even on this one, you'll see, not there so much, but if you go over, custom menus, you can edit the existing menu, or you can add, like it says, coaching up there. The rub with this stuff is that we asked for years to get custom menus added to FileMaker, and then they added it, but they added it in such a goofy way. I mean, it's pretty deep, it does a lot, but it's really, the mental gymnastics to get it to work are really difficult, So, I mean, we could almost have a whole webinar just on custom menus. Maybe we should drag you back. How good are you on custom menus right now? Because I haven't.
I avoid using them for the most part. It was one of those things I couldn't get around using the command keys, and so when I used a command key, it wasn't creating the log. And this might be something some people might run into with implementing an audit log. I wanted to track whenever a new record was created, and every time I hit Command N, it wasn't creating that log. I had to click the button.
You have to replace that command in the menu, right? You have to replace that.
Yeah. So now when I hit Command N, I'll just do that.
Yeah, that's a separate. Why don't we save that for another event? We'll do that. We'll do custom menus for people who want to suffer through. So we will add that to the schedule. But any questions? No one's questioning here. It's really, I think their heads exploded. But the idea was that, once again, if you want to interrupt, like if you say Command N, create a new record, or B for browse mode, or things like that, you in order to interrupt those, you have to use a custom menu where you replace the new record step. So
right.
Yeah. If you go
up
to
here, if I select the new button, which would be the same as Command N,
yeah,
then now it runs a script instead of just creating a new record.
Yeah. So you've overridden FileMaker's default behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this is actually on the certification test. This kind of a very oblique part of it, but it like trying to override that and. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. So yeah, I'm going to let you continue. It's really quiet. I think they're watching, but I think they're all overwhelmed by what you're doing. So just make sure you don't take it too fast. Okay.
Okay. So so do we want to do a demo with implementing this in the contacts demo app?
Yeah. Can you do that? Can you do that from beginning to end? Okay, so what we're going to do for everyone right now, here we go. So I keep switching away. So we're going to do a live demo of applying. So we have a sample file we're going to give you. Well, let's pretend we're going to build it from scratch. We're going to go through all the steps to build from scratch. Are you going to do the custom function part of it in there, Calvin?
There's no custom functions in this.
No, I don't mean that. Custom menu. My bad. Custom menu.
No. I'm sorry. So the only thing we'll be applying is the tracking the edits to the fields.
Okay, so we're not doing everything.
Views, finds. We're just implementing the tracking the edits, which is in a lot of cases that's all that people want. I had a client the other day that they just wanted to track edits to a single field on a layout, and this is one of those an easy way to track that. Whether you want to track all fields or just
okay. Well, one way that they understand what we're doing, so it's awesome.
Cool.
So it's DIT Tedan Dal. It's always hard to, people put these words together, and it's hard for me to figure out what they're trying to spell. My wife's much better at spelling license plates. But appreciate the comment, appreciate the feedback. Let us know. All right, so Calvin, why don't you go ahead and transplant this like an open heart transplant. Move it from point A to point B.
Okay, I'm going to go to File, Create New. And I will just select the Contacts app from FileMaker. Say Create. I'll save this on the desktop. And it should appear right here. There it is. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to say File, Import Records. And what this does is it creates not just the table that I want, it will set up the table with all of the auto-enter calculations I want, and it will set the table occurrence name that I want. So to make it just an easy transfer. So I'm going to say import. And here's my new audit log layout in the contacts app. So let's go ahead, and I don't really care about these fields here, so I'm going to change that. I happen to know that the height is going to be that I want is 79, and the height here I think is 39. I'll probably double check that. And let's change our theme to the theme that FileMaker used in this app. I'm going to just say browse to save that. Let's make sure our view is the list view. And this is going to be our audit log card layout. And
so it doesn't have to be a card, just happens to be a card, right? So
right. The pop-up layout for viewing those changes.
Okay, well, just for the record, just so make sure you specify whether a feature is optional or kind of required. So yeah, just let them know.
Okay, yeah, this isn't required, I suppose. So let's go over to this card layout that we're using called audit log card. I'm going to copy the field name, the layout name, and paste that in here. As much as these names match up, it really makes the transition easier. And I'm just going to, so this is all ready to go. The next thing I'm going to do is copy the scripts. So I just want this audit log folder. So I'm copying the audit log folder, and we will paste it over here. I'll open the scripts and paste it. So everything should look good in here. That one won't work. We're not using that table. The important thing is this one looking good, and then these ones looking good. Okay, those are good. Go ahead and, oops, close too many windows there. Okay, so now that we have those scripts in there and the audit log table, we want to grab those layout parts. So I'm going to open up the layouts and go to this card.
Now you are going about 5,000 miles an hour here, right? So you understand. I can hear the sonic boom as you're flying by in your explanation. So I'm waiting for someone to like say something. But yeah, you're smoking fast. So yeah, so he's in the old file. We're copying and pasting the pieces over to the new file. You have to almost put a when we talk, you almost have to put a pause in there. You know what it is? It's funny that some of our video training, some people, it's too fast for them, and then some people it's too slow. And we have people who watch our video and they hit a little button to fast forward and play it like 1.25 speed, right, or 1.5 speed, because they talk a little fast like that. Because I tend to slow down for basic people. So he is transplanting the items here. All right, adjusting the height. All right, cool. All right, keep going, Calvin. You're doing wider.
So here we have our audit log, and I'm going to delete this record because this was just the sample record we imported. So no records here, but we have the layout set up. And this is the old layout here from the demo file. Go ahead and minimize that. And I'm going to copy over this audit log button, copy, and paste that into our contacts layout, the contacts detail layout. And we'll just pay, and that will be to open and view the audit log. Let's go ahead and just make this.
Okay, no, it's probably broke in terms of script. Do you have to rewire to the script or no?
So the only change I'm going to need to make here is to the script parameter.
Okay, and real quick there, everyone, just pause for a second, zoom in, okay? And explain what we're seeing there and why we're seeing what we're seeing.
Okay, so here I selected this, because I copied over those scripts and the names match, it automatically assigned it to the right script, the open audit log card window. And here the script parameter, you'll see that it's commented out.
So that's commented out. So we saw the commented out. The other one was where the entire line was commented out. It was 2 forward slashes, comments the entire line. This comments between a specific starting point and ending point. Right?
Right.
So just understand that there's more than one way to comment out code, and that's one of the ways right there.
Yeah, so what happened here when I pasted it in, FileMaker looked for a table occurrence called TO5 contacts and couldn't find it. And so it put it in a comment. So we'd see what the old code is, but it would but it wouldn't actually use it. It would ignore it.
Now, just for fun, just get rid of the commenting out there and try to let it compile. Oh, no. Just get rid of that and get rid of that. So if you did that, that would try to reactivate it. But if you say OK, it says, hey, this is not a real thing in the database, right? Because it was from the other file, right? So you have to change.
Specified field can't be found.
Right. Yep.
And this needs to be the primary key. So in this sample file, it's called contact ID matching field. Okay, so I'll save that. Save that. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is to set up our global UUID field in the database definitions. So I will create this, and we're using this name, and the name's important just because we're referencing it by name. So I created this, and let's save it as give it global storage. And
okay. And as a reminder, go back to the other spot. because we name a field G underscore, does that mean anything? That's totally arbitrary. People ask me because we do things, and sometimes we do things just for sake of clarity. So we do G underscore, it tells us it's a global. Some companies, I've seen some really, I want to say almost anally retentive people do, like a Z means this, and an X means this, and an R means this, and that gets over the top. But G underscore is a good one because it tells you it's a global. Now, because it's named that doesn't mean it's necessarily a global. Just as a lot of times we can't see the right two columns. All we see is the name on the left, right? And if all we see is the name G underscore UUID, then that gives us a clue. It's probably a global if we're being consistent in what we do, right? So just keep that in mind.
Yeah,
so,
and it's also really helpful for somebody coming in later, because you're going to work on this, and it's going to be a great app that other people use, and maybe you're going to move on, and somebody else is going to have to come behind you and figure out what you were trying to think. And so putting that G on there is helpful just to let us know what's going on with the field. Oh, it's a global. And when you do a good job naming your fields, it makes it easier for other people to understand. Okay, while we're in here, I'm going to go to relationships, and we need to set up that related audit log table. Now, the reason I'm creating a new table occurrence is because I want it to be, I want to maintain that anchor buoy setup. So we're going to call this contacts audit log, just to keep our names nice. And now we want this to be related, the G UUID.
Okay, yeah, you were screwing. Yeah, I was totally confused why you had website up there. So you just did it to connect it initially, then you were going to go back and fix it. Okay, got it.
Right. So I just made the connection, and then I went through and selected the field that I wanted. And this is a really important part here. Allow creation of records in this table via this relationship. If that's not enabled, we'll get error messages, and nothing it won't work. We won't get new records created through that relationship. I'm going to say save. Okay. And now I'm going to grab all of these fields in this column. So I'm grabbing them all at once, and right click and say set triggers. On object enter, and I'm grabbing this object enter audit log trigger. Now I'm not going to edit the script, but what I do want to do is I've put all of the script parameters here in the comments at the top of the script. So it's an easy just copy from there and then paste in here. And this is the same thing we were looking at before. We've got one line that's a comment, and then we've got the let statement that controls what's going on. I'll say okay. Okay again. And then on object save. And we'll select the same script. We'll select edit. And I'm going to grab this on object save trigger. I'll copy that and paste in here. I don't want these session ones, so I'm going to pull those out and say okay. Oh, actually, you'll notice on action and description, we've got nothing defined. So I want to say this is an edit. And I have this nice sentence here that kind of spells out what's going on. And here I need to grab the contact ID. We want to put that on the other side of the equals, the contact primary key. So I'll say okay. Something's messed up here. Oh, we need to grab the audit log ID, the related UUID field. So here's a comment to try to help you figure out which field you want to pull that from. So that's this related table, contacts audit log, and it's going to be this primary key. And I think we're good to go now. I'll just put contacts in here. And I'll say okay to save. It's saved. Okay. Now I just applied that trigger to all of these fields. Let's see if it works. I'm crossing my fingers. Changed it to Mr. John Doe ABC Company. Okay, so we just edited 4 fields. Let's look at the audit log and see what comes up. Okay, so we changed the title from empty to Mr. The first name from contact to new contact to John. Last from empty to Joe. Company from empty to ABC Company. And so we can do a search in this and see, I just want to see the first name changes. And there's all the first name changes for this record. Let's see, clear that search out. So that was a pretty, I didn't look at the clock before we started, but it's pretty fast to implement this in tracking the changes to any table.
Well, it's kind of funny, yeah. So I'm always sensitive to us going too fast, and of course we have one person telling me I should let you go faster. So it's always one of those kind of things. There's a wide variety of people who use the platform, and I've got people who are brand new who are asking me, basic things, and then I got people who want it to go, max speed. So that's the benefit of we're switching to some of the videos where when you do video training, you'll be able to watch them through strictly it's a Vimeo player, but we're paying them to archive and host all the videos so you can play them at faster speed. So I tend to go much slower. The goal is to bring the new people along, and then the advanced people kind of get grumpy with me. So that kind of tends to happen. We do have a question. David has a question. You create a G audit field on every table to bind to the log table. That's the question. You create.
Great. Yeah, great question. So so for each table group, you would need that global UUID field, and you would need a related audit log table occurrence. So if you're tracking in contacts, you'll need a global UUID field there. If you have companies, you'll need a global UUID field there and the audit log table occurrence. And so yes, that would need to be in each table group.
Yeah, and this is why, frankly, and this is a performance tip once again on this one, similar to the other one, but this is more of a lean design audit trail. And this is really the third level of learning in the FileMaker platform. So the first level learning we've talked about before, where you effectively, the first level learning is you're brand new to FileMaker, you make it work, and you're happy that anything works at all. And it doesn't matter whether it's a fast way or a slow way. When you're trying to say get an invoice and it's going to make a PDF and print or something or whatever you're going to do with that, or send an email. Once you get it to work, it's like pats on the back. You're awesome. This is great. You're very happy. Everyone's happy with you. That's the first level learning. Then the second level of learning is when you realize that maybe the way you built it, there was probably 10 different ways of doing it, and you probably built it the slow way, which is not overly performant, right? But that's where I like to train people to that level, the second level, where they're scripting most of it and doing it with scripts. The previous audit trail did it that way. However, there are these little spots, what we call lean design, which is really about Nick's course, which is the lean design course. I'll just briefly mention this for people here. So if you go up under to live training, and then you come up here top and you say individual courses, the Nick's course is totally free. And part of the conversation becomes that creating new records through relationship is faster than scripting it. Now, most of the time when you script things, you're getting rid of calc fields and sub-summary fields, and writing scripts generally is much faster. So writing scripts and abstracting everything out through code like that is like the second level. It's much quicker. It's actually easier to train people that way. The lean design is tricky because there are nuances specific to FileMaker and only FileMaker because of the engineers, the hundreds of engineers that have worked on it over the last 30 years, and the little gotchas with how the code works, right? And so the issue becomes one where lean design is like the third level learning. It's the highest level that the senior engineer knows. I really don't try to train people to that myself personally, because it's a lot of I like to be kind of consistent in training. So if we take calculation fields out of a field definition, you put them in a script, use a set field, generally that's always going to be faster. But there are these little apostrophes, like little footnotes, like except under these 3 cases. And this is one of those 3 cases, and that's why they rebuilt the audit trail to take advantage of lean design. So that's that third level of learning. And it's just erratic all over the place. Like, for example, if you write a calculation in a script, and you run this calc, it runs at a certain speed. If you actually write it into a custom function, it runs much faster. Okay, and who would guess that custom functions have their own different block of code? Well, Nick, because he worked down at FileMaker, knows this, and he's like a little repository of all the things that you learn how to do the highest level of high-speed performance. So really kind of more of a senior thing. So beginning, intermediate, really, and then today Audit Trail is kind of almost in a senior conversation. So they got it working, and once again, this is me providing a little color commentary as to, because I hate training people on this, because I like to say, and I'll go back to your thing here, Calvin, your screen. I would prefer that this was a script. It was all in the scripts up here, and I'm actually going to draw a little bit. But if you're in here, up the scripts up here, and then you had some code that said, write the audit trail and do this and do this and do this and do this. And as I'm training, it's a very linear process, very straightforward. And if you write scripts, generally that's much better than a calculation field or a summary field or things like that, except apostrophe, once again, those little gotchas areas, one of which is creating relationships through, creating a record through relationship is faster. Doing a calculation through an auto enter field calculation is faster, typically. And so there are these areas where the performance picks up. Once again, everything we're doing here is about making things go much faster. And so it's really, my job is to really bring it to a mid-level. And then when you get lean design, we bring extra people in. I bring in the Nicks, I bring in the Calvins. And Nick is already working on Lean Design Course version 2, or we're calling it Extra Lean, or I don't know what the hell we're calling it, but it'll be in June probably, and it will be a kind of a continuation of his Lean Design course that's up here. Once again, it's a free course. It will continue to be a free course. And it's a lot to absorb, because basically, you know, if you're brand new to FileMaker, don't even go here. If you've been doing FileMaker for a while and you've learned that scripting is better and this and that and the other thing, this will help you with those exceptions to the rule. It's all the exceptions. And as a trainer, I hate that, because I have people trying to memorize exceptions, like a Ford truck is better if it's this with this engine and this transmission. You're going up a hill in Iowa but not in California with different fuel. I hate all the little hanging footnotes, all the exceptions. That's what drives trainers nuts, because we want to train you with a generic set of rules to make you effective, yet here's all these rules, and then there's these little apostrophes. So when you become more senior, you're comfortable with that mid-level with the scripting, you're comfortable, you like it, then we turn Calvin or Nick loose to give you the next level. It's like the next level. So anyway, Calvin, I want to make sure if we have any following questions at all. So Dust, Claude Ron is there. He's said thank you very much. David went too damn, wanted me to go faster, right? Or that was Austin Dev. I wonder if that's, I don't know if that's, what's her name from Austin? Oh, an EFG52. Hey, man, if you weren't here, if EFG52 wasn't here, I would be very grumpy. Where are the normal ace hitters here? And then we also have iMog somewhere, and I think there's a Brian somewhere too. Some of our notorious problem children in the group. But no, I mean that with love in my heart when I say that. I'm glad you folks are here. We need the interaction so we know what's working. So one of you wants it faster, some other people want it slower. That's why in the future the video plays you're going to get with our training will have the speed control fundamentally built in. So anyway, I tend to learn slower, so for me slower is better, but for some people they just want it, you know, sprayed at them like a fire hydrant. So there's Calvin's message there to me. Go back over here. Cool. All right, so apostrophe. Oh, that's Austin Dev. Yeah, asterisk. Yeah, apostrophe. Asterisk, yes. That's what happens when my mouth goes faster than my forehead. Cool. All right. Well, that's all true too. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean this video up a little bit. We're going to send you out the sample file. In fact, if you folks want the sample file right now, Calvin, it's just it's not this file, it's the other file. Calvin, where's the other file?
This file.
Yeah, so the link is case sensitive. So what I'm going to do is see if I can log on. Actually, I'm going to log on into it. Well, let me see here. What I'm doing is I'm logging. I got several computers here, one of which is mission control or air traffic control. And then what I'm doing is I keep an eye on the broadcast, and that's why at the beginning we knew that something was horribly wrong with the broadcast, because it wasn't going out to Twitch. Once again, if you missed that conversation, what we'll be doing is, let's see, so that's general. So what I want to do is I'm going to go Calvin. Where'd that link go? Did we give that link to you, or did Miles have that link? Where was that link?
Miles had the link.
Where is it? Did he give it to me right here? Give me 1 second, folks. I'll get you the link. Otherwise, you have to wait for me to do it. Okay, here, I got the link right here. All right, so let me go to back to the browser. I'm going to go to the Twitch. Here is the link. It is case sensitive. Case sensitive link. I'll do the same thing on YouTube. Sample download file. If you're not gonna copy and paste it, just make sure you understand it is case sensitive. People always kind of mess that up, and then it loses its mind. Then they want to know why it doesn't work. So. Cool. Well, that's it for today. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock, we're going to be back again. Where if you folks like Calvin, if he wasn't too fast, if he wasn't too a horrible person, I know Calvin beats children and hurts little baby puppies and hates everyone. Isn't that you, Calvin? Or you're like a nice guy?
I thought I was the nice guy.
Yeah, actually, he's one of the nicer people I know. I like Calvin a lot. So if you want to hear more from him, maybe on the custom menu thing, I know Calvin and I avoid it, but we will go into the den of the enemy as necessary to show you how to do that, because sometimes you really need to be able to override the custom menu items. Very useful. All right, so then we got one Brotherman. Make sure you let us know where you're at. It's always awesome to let people know where they're at. But tomorrow, what's today? Today's Monday. Tomorrow is actually a scheduled event. What is actually tomorrow's event? Let's see. Take a look at it. Tomorrow's event is that can't be right. Open Q&A. Oh, then Wednesday is security. Okay, that's fine. So tomorrow's open Q&A. We'll maybe we can want to do the custom. I don't know if we should do. We could do. So if you folks are here, you want to vote real quick on what you want to have us show tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Same time. It will be recorded. If you miss it, you'll get to watch it later. And we will clean it up a little bit with a little bit. This one specifically is kind of ugly, so we'll clean this one up. But we're doing security overview on Wednesday. We're doing kind of a go overview on Thursday, and on Friday is going to suck. Calvin, how are you with charts? Because I really dislike the charting engine in FileMaker. Do you like the charts? Do you do charts?
Yeah, I use charts. And for basic charts, FileMaker works, and then sometimes I use those Fusion charts and such.
Yeah, absolutely. So okay. So if we were going to do FileMaker charting a webinar on Friday, which my team put it up here in its schedule, but I don't like to do it live, because doing charts live is like it's just ugly. You can't ever guarantee it'll really work really well, but we could bang that out. You want to come back on Friday? Are you free Friday at 1 o'clock? You want to come back and be a guest star on Friday?
I can see about it. I should be able to.
John, check your schedule. 1 o'clock Friday. That is Pacific time. If you're in Europe or somewhere else, we do apologize for the late hour. And we will be happy to get that going for you. If you folks have ideas about tomorrow, we might do custom menus or something else. It just depends if you have time, Calvin, on your schedule. So check your schedule. Sure. Calvin's great. We work together great. I'm happy because someone has to be answering questions and typing, and the other person is talking, which is useful. So I'll lean into, if you're free tomorrow, Calvin, can you check? Because we could do the custom menus tomorrow, which is kind of, it's, some things at FileMaker are easier. I mean, when the charts work, it's very satisfying to have them work. But frequently when you first build them, they just go bonkers and just draw trash all over the screen. So you have to kind of wrestle with them and play with them and keep changing them until they kind of get where they need to be. So right. I'm not getting a lot of comments tomorrow, so we're going to lean into the custom menu for tomorrow is what we'll do. We'll do Q&A, but we'll do custom menus. If you're free tomorrow, 1 o'clock, Calvin, you free?
I should be, yes.
Absolutely. Then we'll drag you in there for that too.
Okay.
I'm Richard Carlton. We're going to sign off today from fmtraining.tv. As a reminder, definitely check out our video courses. This is kind of an ad hoc situation here. You're getting live Q&A. The upside of this is you get live questions and answers. The downside is it's not animated with graphics and stuff. If you want to see all the animations with graphics, then definitely check out our video course. If you go to the bundles, that's the best way of doing it. You get the complete bundle, which is everything, and we really appreciate the support. If you want a discounted price on this and you're a video watcher and you're not current right now, you want to get into this or you want to renew, it's an annual thing, then send us an email to support RC Consulting. We'll give you a $50 off discount code for either one of those. So one is the video only on the right side over here, and then on the left side, this includes all the sample files we have, starting point enhanced, the calendar kit, all sorts of stuff. So it's a pretty good deal. So let us know, and that's how we can afford to bring this to you live. So tomorrow, 1 o'clock Pacific time, we'll pick up question and answer and custom menus in the FileMaker platform. So Calvin, so long for now.
Sounds good.
See you then.
And the guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left. Amendola reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.
On DBW 13, so that's where the master's sitting now, just so you know.